I remember around that time when you were working, Rain asked me, like, she was like, why does Chase get all this attention? Why does he get therapy? She was like, I want therapy. She, like, I was like, huh? And
Yeah.
that's kindergarten at that age. She was like,
Yeah.
why don't I have autism? Like, I remember these questions. And I think at that young age, they notice the attention that she was noticing he gets more attention than me. So she wanted some of that. So I think including her in it, in the therapies was great.
Welcome to the Parent Trap Podcast, where we keep it real about raising neurodivergent children. I'm your forever host, Mike Reynolds, and today we're highlighting the voices that are heard the least but often carry the most weight, the parents. If you know me, you know I'm all facts, so let's jump in and see how this one little human changed your life, not just as a parent, but as a person. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Parent Trap Podcast, episode 3. I have another special guest with me today. His name is Stacy McAllister. We go way back into the archives from when I first started. I'm excited about getting started, sharing information, and just kind of connecting with you all today. But first, I want to say Happy Veterans Day to all those out there. Special holiday for our troops and everybody involved. Thank you for your fight for freedom and for us to have the freedoms and everything that we enjoy today. So happy Veterans Day on that note. But yeah, now that we're here, Stacy, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are and where you're from.
All right, Stacy McAllister, founder of 511 Hoops. We provide a sports and enrichment program for neurodivergent youth and adults. I'm a father of a son who's on the autism spectrum, and Mike used to be my son's BCBA.
Yeah, we go way back, and like I said, I was trying to find my notes, and I was trying to, just figure out, where it all started and where we were at, and how I think Chase was one of my first clients, and I think I had just become a supervisor at that time, so Chase was
Okay.
like a learning curve, a learning curve for me. And I
Right.
was like, okay, cool. This is a new situation. This is new. But I think with your
Mm,
support, his mother's support, and obviously his sister's support as well too, which we'll get into a little bit later here. I think we made
yeah.
progress, and we were in the right direction
Yeah.
before things changed. And so yeah, let's
Yeah.
kind of hop into kind of Chase's story. Like, how did everything begin? Were the signs? What did you or maybe his mom notice that stood out to you two?
Man, his journey, man, it feels so long because he's 14. So this was a little right before he turned 2. You know, your child, you have your baby, they're hitting all these different milestones. And you just start noting, the eye contact's not there, very they I noticed a lot that he used to love to he would sit with a bunch of books and just read them all day, like won't be bothered. And then you're thinking initially, like, oh, my kid loves books, but it was kind of to the point like, hold on, like he lined certain stuff up, or he would just stare kind of off into space sometime. And it was just those little things, but just again, those certain milestones around that 12 to 18 months, you're kind of like, okay. And I remember my parents brought it up. My mom was like, hey, you might want to just see what's going on, get them assessed. And so, to be honest, I don't even know what led me to go to the regional center, with mom but went to the regional center, got him assessed, diagnosis come back, hey, your son has autism. So that's how the journey started.
Yeah, gotcha. And then when you got that diagnosis, how did you respond? Like maybe emotionally or like physiologically? Like how once they were like, your
Yeah.
son has been diagnosed, can you recall like that emotion that kind of occurred?
Um, it's news. I don't want to say it's news you don't want to hear, but it's something you don't expect. Because I think when you have a child, I think every person, you have this vision, okay, I'm about to put my child into this. This is blah, blah, do this activity. And you feel like you want to mold them the best way you can. Yes, they're going to be their own individual, but I don't want to throw all this at them. Um, But then you hear that and I didn't know too much about autism, so it's like, okay, what is this? What does the future look like? Your first questions I think a lot of parents ask themselves is, are they going to grow out of this? No, you don't. You don't. This stays with you forever. Um, I went down a rabbit hole and was doing all type of research. What is autism? What are the different levels? Like what should be done at home? You have to really change your mindset of what you think parenting is. And you have to learn that there's really no like rule book on how to do it. You're really going to be learning on the fly. You're going to be taking information from other families, stuff online, and you just got to you got to learn on the go because you have to mold whatever you're doing to how your child is receptive of it. So it's very different
Yeah.
per family.
Mhm.
Um, and I think I was kind of just like, okay, this. I remember I told myself, I said, this is what the cards I'm dealt with.
Yeah.
We just got to roll the punches.
Yeah.
Yes, you're sad. I didn't been through every emotion.
Right,
Um,
right.
Trust me, I didn't cry.
Yeah,
I'm mad. I'm questioning God.
yeah.
What did I do? Like, I'm thinking about, man, kids are gonna bully my son. Like, you're thinking about all that. And you're trying to hold yourself together because you still got to navigate life. You still got to go to work. You still got to do things, and you learn that you just start to mask in front of people and be like, okay, things are good, but behind closed doors, you're not really good.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's I think that's the thing that I've noticed, obviously working with parents these past, 12 or 13 years is, and I think we talk about as a society, you never know, you never really know what someone is going through, right? And I think you mentioned the
Nah,
word masking, right? So I might look like I have it all together. I might look like I'm managing. I might, have on a happy face or smiling or interacting, in an appropriate manner, but they don't know that my son didn't sleep at all last night, or they were punching holes in the wall till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and so there's that sense of understanding, especially for myself, when I do encounter especially new families and also
hmm,
families that I've been working with for a while, to figure out where they're at in that moment, right? Because
yeah,
how you were on Monday, you might not be the same on Friday. So my approach, my delivery, how I interact with you all, and even the client themselves has to change and adjust.
hmm,
Yeah, that's the dope part. And then I want to go into the kind of family aspect of your mom kind of highlighting or saying like, "Hey, Stacy, I want you to check this out." I know culturally, at least for those or some in the Black and African American communities, we do have that. Oh, they'll grow out of it, right? Or
right,
it's just a phase, or just the old tropes of African
right.
American language that has been maybe ushered down from generations. So how did that kind of shift, or how did your mom have that conversation with you on maybe something might be up?
Um, she just told my mom's a straight shooter.
Yeah, easy.
It's
Yeah,
easy. So,
yeah.
and I value what she say.
Uh-huh.
So if she says it, even my dad was like, "Yeah, they're straight shooters." Like, take a look at. So it wasn't nothing like, "Oh, okay, why would you say that?" It's kind of like this on the open table. So I value what they say. Um, so it's kind of like, okay, let's take a look at it. Because I'd rather be the person that, okay, let's go see what's going on, and you could weed whatever's out as opposed to be waiting and your child's not progressing. Okay, then you feel like you set them back because you didn't waited 3 5 years when they couldn't even get the help they needed.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that waste, not I wouldn't say wasting time, but that if you want to call it latency, or that
And
extended period of time where we could have stepped in or we could have been more proactive, in
mhm,
retrospect can do some disservice, because it's like, okay, cool, you guys maybe had the red flags, or you thought about it when he was maybe 12, 18 months, 2 years old. Now he's 7 years old. And so we have that 5 year gap where it's like, okay, we
yeah,
could have done a little bit more in that situation. So I'm definitely a huge proponent to parents on, like, if you see it, we have the resources now. we have, things to, like you said, be able to weed it out, right? Is it this diagnosis or is it this other diagnosis, right? Let's get some
Hmm.
kind of understanding on what we think might be happening so we can get some clarity on how to move forward.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is people. I hate isn't not to show like I'm not empathetic, but when it comes to your child, you have to remove your feelings. And I think we get caught up in how we feel and how the world's going to perceive you or your child, and it's like I understand you care about your child so much, but they're the one living with that diagnosis. They're the one that's going to be going through everything. You have to look out for them and remove yourself and your feelings and emotions from them. Like, I need to get them help because they're the one living with this and they're the one that's going to need the help. And you're going to have to be the person to support them.
Yeah.
Um, so I understand it's tough,
Mm.
but everybody's different. I
Right.
understand that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I love that you said that because I think both you and I both have an athletic background. So it's really like problem solution, right? Like,
solution.
yeah, yeah, facts. And I say facts over feelings.
Right.
At the end of the day, like the fact is your son isn't making progress in this area or your daughter has social deficits in this area. Yeah, it sucks. And I'm sure you do feel some type of way and you're sad and you're grieving, but where do you want your child to be? And that's where
Right.
me as a BCBA and my clinical teams we step in is to get you across that kind of threshold, right? Like I
Hmm.
understand, I understand what you're going through as best I can. As a
Right.
new father, I understand what you're going through. I understand, this on the clinical level. But at the end of the day, you called us here to help you with A, B, and C. So now let's do A, B, and C, right? And so
Right.
I'll give you that gray area or that space that you need, but then I always tell parents, let me know when you're ready. Because if you're not ready, no progress is going to ever amount
Oh
to
no.
anything. Because if I'm pushing communication and daily living skills for 2 hours, 3 hours a day, and then your child has complete freedom the other 21 hours, what I
Right.
did is it's not going to work, right? Nothing's
Yeah.
going to improve if you don't follow through or maintain or generalize a lot of those goals. So yeah, I love that
Hmm.
you said that sometimes it sucks, right, as a father and a mother, but we still have to do what's best for our child because they're, like you said, they're living with that diagnosis, and we want to prepare them as best we can for the future. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, dope. So after that diagnosis, after you kind of, I guess, swallowed everything, you understood, you did your research, you networked and looked out and reached out to other parents and things. What were the next steps? And obviously it was ABA therapy because that's when I kind of ran into you
Yeah.
guys. So how did that maybe ABA process go, and maybe where are you kind of at right now with you and Chase in ABA?
Initially, you got the regional center, then you gotta find the vendors that are vendor with the regional center for ABA. So we got that set up. I think initially I could have sworn he was from where I mean, I think it was like 3 or 4 days a week, but it was like 2.5 hours. He had a break and then he had another 2.5 hours
Hmm.
in like the afternoon.
Yeah, yeah.
But in between that, he had speech twice a week.
Mm.
He had OT twice a week. So it was a lot. Um, then you're working. So it's a lot of like, luckily we had a good village that can help, but it was a lot.
Mhm.
And you, it's a lot for the kid, especially at that age. I mean, he's 2.5. So that's a lot of hours of being focused and, you're seeing the meltdowns.
Yeah.
I'm in the therapy, so you're finding ways to help him cope with the meltdowns and how to like self-soothe himself, and you're learning different teachings and stuff like that. So, but it's a lot. I felt like all that was a job for him. It was a lot for to be so young. It was a lot. As of now, ABA, uh, it's after I guess through my learning of a lot of different things from working. I worked as a behaviorist in a school setting and just different things. I think different agencies have different approaches.
Right. Definitely.
I've learned that. Um, as they get older, I don't feel the in-home ABA setting is as beneficial. There needs to be more in a social setting. Um, that's just me. And it depends on where your child is. I always say that. Depending on where your child, if they're ready for that, that's where you should go. So right now, I'm been really pushing, like, do a lot of stuff socially where you meet after school and it's an after school program, whether it's an hour, be with him, help him navigate that. Because now I'm looking 10 years down the line, he's 14, you're about to be a man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So now it's time to prepare you for this real world. He's able now to kind of like his self-awareness is getting a little better. So it's
Okay.
now for you to kind of like, what do you do in these certain scenarios? What do you do, socializing, I like for the ABA to teach you those things as of now, but in the home is like for what, I think
Yeah.
that's
Right.
good for a certain age.
Yeah.
Now let's teach you, like, hey, let's walk down the street. What do you do at a
Mhm.
stop sign? If somebody looks at you or asks you a certain question, hey, stranger danger, like you got to
Yeah.
know these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and just hearing you talk, it took me back, obviously, to when I was working in Chase in that in-home setting, and I think at that time, I want to say maybe elopement and vocal stereotypy was really high. He'd just run upstairs, kind of yelling and screaming. Obviously,
Hmm.
giving his space, working on functional communication, things that were more appropriate in the home. But I think at that time as well too, there were some school issues. So I think I actually went to a school IEP with him or did some kind of formal meeting with the teacher just to decrease behaviors. But he also had other, like you said, speech and OT. So I think I was talking to his mom just about, I think we maybe did like a decrease. Because
Hmm.
it's overwhelming, right? Not only to the village, but to Chase
Yeah.
himself, where he's like, okay, cool, Mr. Mike's here again, right? My staff is here again. Like, we did this yesterday, 5, 6, 7 times. I got frustrated. Now they're doing, the exact same thing. And so as clinicians, and what I try to teach my teams is that, we're going to pace ourselves, depending on how the client is feeling, how the family is feeling, on that day or that week, right? Like, we don't need to go guns blazing 24/7 Monday through Friday. If the kid
Right.
is stressed and overwhelmed, then cool, let's take a step back. Let's, do some task modifications and let's lessen what we're expecting of them. And we can pick it up next week or next month, right? So just being
Hmm.
observant and understanding, that our kids get overwhelmed too. I always tell staff, like, imagine if you got done with school and someone's waiting for you at home to do another,
Exactly.
yeah, another 2 to 3 hours, right? Like, you'd feel some type of way as well too. So, yeah, I think that overwhelming sensation is something that clinicians sometimes, and like you said, different ABA companies have different priorities. But I think as a field in general, I think sometimes we need to be more accommodating to the family and their needs. And like you said, now Chase is on this trajectory of being almost a man, right? Being 4 years away from being 18. And so in home, yeah, it's cool, but I got those basics down. Now it's time to prepare him, like you said, for the real world, right? To be more
Right.
aware of strangers, to be more aware of, how society does things, because they don't care that Chase has a diagnosis, right? I'm
Uh,
sure Chase is like 6'2" now. Last time I seen him, he was super short. But
yeah.
he's a growing boy, right? He's almost a grown man. And so we wanted to prepare him for what life looks like for him in that specific, environment and setting.
Hmm.
Yeah. And kind of just bouncing around, or not, wouldn't say bouncing around, but looking at different like ABA agencies or companies. Um, what is one thing that you wish more maybe BCBAs, ABA providers understood about parents and or families?
Uh, that every situation is going to be different. I don't think you can be so clinical and go by the book with everything. I've run into that where this is how we do things. This and that. I'm like, I understand everybody has their protocol, but you can't have this one way of doing things because every family dynamic's going to be different. Um, you're going to have kids coming from single parent homes, multiple siblings, co-parenting, two. parents do things differently. So you gotta like really understand the scope of the family dynamic first and approach it from there and come up with a game plan from there. And then like how you say, you kind of see where the parents are, where they want to, are they able to receive this information? Because sometimes if you're throwing out so much stuff and they got to do this, implement it at home, I think it could be overwhelming. We're already dealing with stuff at school, IEPs, just there's so much with that. So I think, like you said, meet the parents where they're at, see how receptive they are to things, and kind of sprinkle little things at them, and then they can get more comfortable and be receptive of, okay, hey, this is what you should be implementing at home.
Right.
Yeah, because it's a trust factor.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they don't trust the BCBA, they don't trust the company or the therapist, it's kind of like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I totally agree. Right. And for me, I think building that trust and imparting in my clinical teams, like, programming can wait. Like, we're just starting building rapport. Like, I don't need you guys to jump in and start talking about, textbooks and Skinner and Pavlov and, operation conditioning and all these ABC terms. Because, first of all, parents don't care, right? They don't care about the terminology, they don't care about what you learned in school. They want to see behavior change. But before that behavior change, we have to build trust so they understand how knowledgeable we are and where we're coming from, right? And how consistent we can be in those situations. There's always a
right,
story that I go into is there was a mom who had I think her daughter was maybe 16 or 17. And it was a little bit of some headbutting and kind of like, you're not doing this, or I'm asking you to do this. You're like, it was just kind of
right.
a barrier for us. And then one day, her daughter had a big kind of physically aggressive episode. And so I stepped in. And I was like, all right, Miss Johnson, I'll take care of it. Right. And so her daughter tried to whoop my ass for about 45 minutes. She would grab my shirt, she would scratch my neck, she would swing at me, kick, like everything for, that entire time until, all the behavior management strategies and stuff that I used finally worked and she calmed down and used her coping strategies. But once I got out of that altercation, just sweating and, half ripped shirt, mom was like, okay, you get it. Like, I've
Yeah,
seen you work with my daughter. That happens on a daily basis for me. And so now you
right.
feel it, you can sense it. So when you're telling me, hey, I need ABC data, I don't have time for that because, like you said, I have a job. I have another sibling that I have to take care of. I have to cook dinner. I have to do laundry. And so at that point, I was like, she's right. Like, I can have these expectations of parents, but I need to come and be more sympathetic in their situation and not be so
Hmm.
data driven in that moment because of what she has as a dynamic, as a household, and as a mother, right? And
Right.
so being in there and just seeing what she literally went through every single day, I was like, okay, like, I got you. Like, I'll ask for
Yeah,
data.
that's tough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, I'll ask for data. When we can both agree on, this certain amount of date or, time, whatever, I can check in with you guys. Maybe on the weekends. Maybe that's a little bit better. So, like you said, I think just understanding the overall dynamic is something that I've gotten used to as well too. And now transitioning to the household dynamic, I want to talk to you about Chase's younger sister. Back when I was working with Chase, she was obviously younger. I think there's a 3 year, 4 year difference.
3.
3 year difference. Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, it took time for her to warm up to me when I was working with her brother. And then once, she got more familiar and comfortable with me, she was very kind of helpful. She would help me work with social programs. She would help me focus on Chase's communication. She would help generalize and maintain certain skills. So can you speak on how sibling interactions, just overall in ABA, can be both beneficial and I guess something that needs to be, I guess, kind of looked at as well?
Yeah, I think it's definitely beneficial because um, it teaches the sibling, gives them a little understanding of their brother or sister, of what's going on, and that's just think kind of like the peer modeling could help the the child that is diagnosed. They can kind of model off their sibling. So I think is very beneficial in those ways because often, I remember around that time when you were working, Rain asked me, like, she was like, "Why does Chase get all this attention? Why does he get
Ooh.
therapy?" She was like, "I want therapy."
Yeah.
She like I was like, "Huh?" And
Yeah.
she's at that's kindergarten at that age. She was like,
Yeah.
"Why don't I have autism?" Like I remember these
Mm,
questions.
mhm.
And I think at that young age they notice so the attention that she was noticing he gets more attention than me. So she wanted some of that. So I think including her in it, in the therapies was great. But on the flip side, I noticed we worked, my mom and I, we worked through this. I noticed behaviors were developed by her, like she would do things to yearn for more attention.
Oh, okay.
And I had to sit back and realize that there were times where she wanted my attention. I'll be doing something with her. And if something with Chase would happen or he needed something, I would stop what I'm doing with her to go tend to him. And I realized, she would stop asking things that she wanted. She would stop asking them, or she'd be like, "Oh, it's okay." Confidence went a little more down, just wasn't as lively her personality should. And I had to look myself in the mirror and be like, hold on, this is, she doesn't deserve this. So there's clear set boundaries with Chase. If I'm doing something with your sister,
Mhm.
you need to wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have your time. And what I'll do is find something that can, he can keep his attention
Mhm.
while I'm doing something with her, or I find a way to, my mom helps out my sister and my dad, or not. Hey, I'm have Chase for a couple hours. I'm gonna do some stuff with Rain, and I try to do a lot of things on a one-on-one basis with her, so she feels she's getting that one-on-one. And mom does the same thing, just so you don't feel like you're excluded. But I will say, having her included in ABA has helped with certain things with Chase because I've noticed it. There's just certain things I notice she'll like assist him with, or be like,
Mhm.
"No, Chase, you got to do it this way."
Oh, okay.
So I see her being that helpful little, I feel like big sister at
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
But there's little things she does to be like, I know she loves her brother, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna help him with certain things
Yeah.
that he may need some assistance with."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I noticed that at a young age. Obviously, like you said, she was probably in kinder or first grade at the time that I was around, and it was very, like you said, "Hey Chase, no, do it like this." I think verbatim, she would tell him that,
Yeah.
on a daily basis. "No, Chase, like this or like this," right? And she was
Hmm.
very helpful. And then just hearing, how she's matured now, right, and how you and mom have worked through another dynamic, right? And so you thought your parenting style was changed with the diagnosis, and now we have, another instance of attention seeking, right, where it's like, okay, now we see Rain maybe doing things differently now because she sees that her brother is getting this type of attention or that type of attention. So it throws parents again for another loop on, like, okay, cool,
Right.
I'm trying to deal with Chase and trying to do this. Now Rain has, this going on or that going on. Like, how do I navigate this? And with balance and work and, like you said, all the stuff that's just going around. And it seems like you and mom have came to an understanding and solution where it's like, okay, cool. We're going to work on Rain, work with Rain, hang out with Rain, take her to the movies, go shopping, whatever, on that one-to-one time, because Chase requires this much amount of assistance
Hmm.
or whatever it is. But then I think the cool thing you're also teaching Chase is, hey, bro, you got to chill. You got to wait. Like, I'm with your
Yeah.
sister. Yeah, I'm with your sister right now. What you got is not more important than my time with your sister. So let me finish up with Rain, and then I'll be able to help you with what you need. And so that also teaches Chase, like, okay, cool. I got to wait. I got to hold my horses, right? I got to chill out
Hmm.
until my dad or my mom is done assisting somebody else, right? They're not just at my
Right.
beck and call whenever I need them. I got to pump the brakes a little bit until, it's
Right.
my turn.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the dope part. Okay, cool. Yeah, I love to just hear the stories because, like I said, all this just takes me back to when 5, 6 years ago when they were younger, kind of just getting on each other's nerves. And
Right.
I'm sure they still do. They have that sibling interactions, but I think at that age, it was just cool seeing how um, helpful, and resourceful she was. She would run upstairs, grab what we needed, come back down, chill,
Right.
hang out, and obviously take her space when she needed to. But I think kind of highlighting that sibling dynamic, right, of being helpful, but then also kind of maybe the undertones of ABA therapy with siblings can also be something that parents have to be careful and manage as well too.
Totally agree.
Dope. Sweet. And so throughout this theme, obviously, I think our theme right now is just kind of just growth overall from when I met you, from when I met Chase to now. And you mentioned real life and kind of community and socialization. So, how are you preparing Chase for these kind of next steps in his life as a teenager?
Ooh, uh, a lot of it is, I mean, he's in high school now, so I have yet to do it. So I'm trying to get a hold of like all the clubs and sports teams and see how he can be involved. I'm not saying be a part of the team whether you can, maybe you can attend a practice for 45 minutes and you have someone to assist you with it just to get some socialization, or whether you want to be the team manager. So I think of things like that, I think can help with just socializing. High school's a bigger thing, that, bigger populations. Um, but I'm looking, like I said, he's about to be into adulthood. So I'm trying to see, okay, how can we prepare him to be as independent um, as he can be? Yes, he's going to still have support. Yes, he's still going to have the help. But let's teach you about real life stuff along with your academics, along with everything that we're doing. But I want to prepare you like how to use a bank card. Um, Eventually, I'm gonna throw you behind the wheel. We're gonna figure out how to drive. It may start with like a golf cart. It may
Yeah,
sound
there you go.
scary,
Right.
but just little stuff like that. Taking the bus, ordering an Uber. Like I want to teach you these things, and that's what I'm kind of like devising this plan. What to do with talking with mom, and then right now we're in this process of self-determination. I think that's very beneficial to families because you have control of this budget and you can create this PCP plan, person centered plan, that helps with your child, and basically you can use it as a tool to set them up for the rest of their lives. So those are just some of the things we're doing right now. Along with still doing his different therapies and just finding what Chase is into. I really try to find things that he gravitates to and use that as a tool to work on your socialization, your communicating, cognitive thinking, multi-step, like just all type of different stuff. Find the things that he loves as teaching to way to teach the things that he may be his weaknesses and not his strong suits.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the way you've kind of adapted and molded. And I think that's the direction I'm hoping ABA kind of goes into. So, two things here. I think the latter, I want you to speak on kind of self determination a little bit more for, our teenage clients going into adulthood for parents on what it really looks like, how to find it, or where to go. But first, I like how you adjusted, right, where it's driving or a bank card or different things for Chase to become more independent in, because obviously we're promoting independence. I don't want to have to drive you everywhere, right? I don't want to have to go to you or have you manage your bank account. I want to give you the skills and knowledge to do that stuff for yourself. So promoting those situations, we're also staying current, I think, with the times that we're in. I know, and I came across this maybe I want to say early on, probably in my career, where I was working with older kiddos and we're trying to like memorize phone numbers, right? We're trying to work on like buses and things like that. I'm like, I don't remember the last time I've had to memorize a phone number because I just use
Man,
my iPhone. And right, so I was like, my programming is outdated. I'm trying to teach kids memorize your mom, your dad, right, where they can
right.
say, hey Siri, call mom. They don't have to memorize all these things.
No,
Right. And the same thing with money, right? Some parents are like, oh, I want him to, be good with money and coins. And I'm like, all right, Miss Jackson, like, when's the last time you used like nickels and dimes and like, no, we have Apple Pay. We tap the card and we bounce, or we have a chip reader and we bounce. And so we're having to adapt not only our programming, but how it's going to be reflected in the society. Not saying that people
right.
don't use cash, but
Yeah,
I can't remember the last time I used cash unless it was strictly given to me, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. So just adapting, your methods not only to society standards, but what works, like you said, what works best for Chase. And so if Chase is really into sports right now, then I'm going to mix social settings. I'm going to mix programs and lessons and ideas that I have for him within that social or within that sports, that sports boundary, whatever it may be. So yeah, I think I love to hear it. You're flexible. You're adaptable, right? I think you have to be, and we've seen the progress that Chase has made because of that flexibility that you've shown on how to get him more ready for community, society, high school, and like you said, the real world here in the future. But going with the real world and the self determination can, because I hear it a lot, and I've never really kind of done like a deep dive into it. So can you kind of share with the audience here or parents that's maybe heard it or looking into it on like what it is, maybe the details and how it will help their children in the future?
yeah. So it's weird. Self determination's been out for a while.
Yeah.
Just it was on a lottery system.
Okay.
I think most recently, 2, 3 years now, everybody can apply for it. So if you're in California, it's not every state. California, you go to your regional center, you deal with the vendor programs or therapies that are vendored with the regional center. You got to get your authorization for a service coordinator. They approve it. Boom. But remember, you're only limited to those people who are vendored, unless you do something to where you find a program, you can pay for it and they can reimburse you. But that can be a whole process for that. Sometimes you may not have the money to upfront the cost of something that you want. So with self-determination, still through the regional center, you basically get a budget and it varies. I've heard numbers in the six figures,
Yeah.
but you're gonna get some money. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna get some money. It they're gonna create a budget based on your child's needs and unmet needs.
Okay.
So you have to go through this orientation. It's a process. You go through this orientation, 2 hour orientation. You go to the DDS website, do it. You have to find a financial management provider, and they'll be like the person that distributes the money to your vendors. You could become an independent facilitator. You could find one, and they help you create this thing called a PCP plan, which is a person-centered plan, and it basically gives a full overview of your child, strengths, weaknesses. What do they like to do? The family dynamic. Um, what you would like, what outcomes you like to see, what you want to see worked on, what therapies they're doing now, and what other things you would like your child to be doing. And then from there, you're going to create a budget, and you're going to list a bunch of different activities, programs, supports, you name it, but they have to fall within these codes, these vendor codes.
Okay.
So you just can't put anything if it doesn't fall within that. And
Right.
that's
Right.
why that's why you have an independent facilitator,
Okay.
because they can help you match and be like, okay, we can put this under here. This will fall under it. And then you find the vendors that, once you find out what you want to do,
Mm.
You find the vendors, you want to call them, hey, this is the pricing, this is how it's going to get paid. And you create pretty much a budget based on a 52, like 52 weeks for a year.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what you want to do is once you create that budget, you want to make sure you use all of it because if you go to next year, you got to do an annual. You don't use all that money. They're going to be like, well, you didn't use it. We're going to deduct. So you want to make sure you're using everything because then you're going to be like, okay, my child's getting older.
Yeah.
There's new things we want to do. Hey, it's inflation. These vendor prices are going up.
Right. Right.
It's just a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
So, um, and it stays with you till adulthood. It doesn't just go away.
Okay.
So you can get it now as, I mean, if you're a new parent getting that diagnosis, I mean, it's going to be probably a little different because you're first learning. But let's say you've been doing traditional services for the first 2 years and you're looking for some more flexibility, you could jump to self-determination. But it stays with you to adults. And then it's going to be different as they become adults because they can cover transportation. Some could be potentially like housing, workforce development support. It just goes with the child and your budget's going to increase. But I really like the flexibility because now you're able to find programs that you can tailor for your child, as opposed to going the traditional model and figuring out what's vended here. And that may not, so I like to say self-determination may not be the thing for you. You may be perfectly fine with the traditional um route with regional center. It's maybe a little more easier. You don't want something too complex and you're happy with it. So it just depends on what you want. Like I said, I'm big on flexibility, um, and kind of finding programs and supports that will benefit your child in a way they can be more receptive to it.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that information. I'm sure parents will, take that and run with it. I think, like you said, it's an additional service that will impact and be beneficial for their child in the future, no matter their age, right? I think you said obviously it'll be different depending how early or late that you start, but being able to tailor what you want or where you have an idea of where you want your child to go is beneficial, obviously, with the monetary funds, being able to fund that. But, having, like you said, that flexibility to say, okay, cool, I want them to do this, or I want them to try this route. Or, like you said, whether it's housing, transportation, or work placement, it's something that is provided, like you said, through the regional center for just additional assistance.
Mhm.
The cool thing and with this podcast that I've come across with all my three guests already is that ABA isn't the only way. And I think that's the cool thing is that I've talked to, a parent that is still doing ABA currently. I've talked to a parent that did ABA for just a month, and now mom is pretty much the RBT, doing her thing, having being resourceful, using what she knows and gaining more knowledge. And then talking to you today, obviously with the 511, with the self determination, with ABA knowledge, you being a therapist yourself is just like there's so many ways for us to tackle a diagnosis that it's just so much out there, right? And I think having parents hear that, or having the audience understand, like, okay, ABA isn't the only way. Like, yeah, there's speech, there's OT, there's PT. Yeah, that's the standard. But we have other things that are available for your child, especially in the state of California, who's a bigger proponent or advocate for neurodiversity. And so that's awesome to hear. And so and I know you're involved with so much more other stuff. So I wanna kind of highlight that because that's actually how I came back into contact with you, was through social media. And I was I'll tell you guys a story really quick. I think it was maybe last year. I think it was Stacy. Was it United or Del? No?
Yeah, the United, yeah.
United, yeah. So Stacy posted a reel with Chase on a United airplane flight, and obviously, Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong, but United has a program where they help neurodivergent children and families go through, I'm guessing, the boarding process, the TSA process. Um, I don't think they don't do takeoff, right? It's just like kind of like a lap around
They
the
just yeah, they just drive around the
Okay, a lap
airport.
around the tarmac, kind of the protocols for just airplane transportation. And I'm looking, I was like, that dude looks familiar. And I was like, that can't be Chase. And so I click on it, and then I was like, oh shit, that's Stacy. And so obviously reconnected with Stacy, which led us to now. But yeah, Stacy, I'm gonna just give you the floor for a few minutes here. Tell us about kind of just the resources. Your networking is pretty expansive. So yeah, just let us know what you got going on and all that.
Yeah, I've beginning of the year I told myself, I mean, of course I'm running 5'11", but I felt like I needed to be more of an advocate. Um, share my experience as a parent, share my experience as a resource provider and what I've learned on the work side as a behaviorist, as a parent, as well as working with all these, these different kids and young adults through 511. And what I come to find out is a lot of like I try to keep it as raw and uncut.
Yeah.
I say how I feel about certain topics, how I personally felt about certain things, and what I come to find out a lot of parents resonated with it. Um, and I've learned that they don't have nobody to talk to about it. And that's kind of been I use my platform as just like share resources, express those thoughts that other parents could be potentially feeling, that they probably don't even know who they could talk to. Um, and the comments is like a community where they can kind of see other people and be like, oh man, I'm not alone. But it's helped me connect with other organizations that are doing things, resources that are out there. The United opportunity that came about, I actually work with one of the ladies, her son, when I first started, and her daughter had actually volunteered one summer for us. So she reached out of the blue and was like, "Hey, we'd love to invite you to this." The TSA walkthrough with United.
Okay.
Chase loves to fly. He's traveled. So I was like, okay, this is a little cool thing for me and him to
Yeah.
do. So we did it. I said, let me film it.
Yeah.
Um, Video went crazy,
Yeah.
and I learned that a lot of families were like, I need this.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
where's this at? And I'm talking about families from all over the US, some other country, and they're like, this, I want to travel, but I can't travel because I don't know how my child is going to do, or we tried it and it was overwhelming and we want some type of practice. So yeah, we did that. We just did another one last month.
Okay.
So we did it again, and it was cool. Like I took my daughter the second time.
Okay.
So it was cool. They go through the whole TS thing. They actually they wait at the gate for like an hour.
Yeah. The real, they got the real.
They the real. They wait at the gate. But
Yeah.
luckily, they had snacks for the kids.
Hmm.
They have a full staff of people at United, so they're interacting with the families and everything.
Okay.
They board the plane. They go through the whole thing. The what do you call them? What do you call the people on the plane?
Was it stewardess? A flight
Is it
attendant?
not flight attendant? Yeah, flight attendant. They go through the whole emergency
Oh yeah,
protocol.
yeah, yeah.
Only thing I will say is they feed them Subway, and I'm like, I try to tell, hey, you don't get this all the time.
Yeah.
So they give them Subway.
Yeah, you
They
get
give them
little pretzels, they got
yeah,
cheesiness. That's
they had
about it.
Subway, Capri Suns. I'm like, hold on, don't get used to this
Right.
chips. So they do that. Go around the tournament. The firefighters spray the plane with water, so they're looking out the windows. And,
Okay.
it's a good experience. So definitely, you can see it's a sign. You can see a relief for some of the families. 'Cause I'm like, man, this is something I've been. They didn't know. They don't know if they're able to take their child. And you see some kids coming on, they're like, I don't want to be on the plane, or they're having a meltdown, or it's sensory overload. But it gives the parents a sense of like, okay, this is what we need to practice before the next time we do a real flight that's 2, 3, 4, 6 hours. Uh, so yeah, that's what I'm using social media for. And like I say, any other resources that I come across, whether it's in LA, I share them. Um, I speak my mind on different topics, whether it's how I feel or if there's something in the government that's going to affect the neurodivergent population. I speak on it, and I just don't be biased. And I see a clip, I actually dive in and do my research and be like, okay, how is this going to affect this population? So I think just try to be as informative for the families, because like again, like circle back to the beginning when we started talking. When you get this diagnosis, you don't know anything, and there's no rule book on how to go about it. So I feel like it's my due diligence. I'm still learning. I'm still learning from other families, and I learn from other pages and stuff like that. But I do want to share game and gems that another parent can use, and you know,
Yeah, I think that's dope, and I've noticed that as well too. It's always free game, right? Like it's each one teach one. Like I say, at the end of
right.
the day, I've been blessed to study this. I've been blessed to be a part of hundreds of families, and I think for me, not only seeing you but seeing others in our field, especially within those minority and marginalized communities, us speaking up because there's not a lot of representation for us in those
Hmm.
spaces or in those groups, especially in the communities that we're involved in,
Oh
right?
yeah, definitely.
And so through 511, you have, is that sports related, I believe?
Got a little bit of everything
A little
now.
bit of everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So through 511, through your networking, through the city council, things that I've seen you doing, through the conferences, through speaking, through engagements, through social media, like you said, just in general. I want to say thank you for just highlighting, you and your family, and just making it so that people don't feel like they are alone, right? Making families understand, like, hey, thank you for sharing this because my daughter, we can't travel as a family. We can't do these things. We can't travel, as a normal neurotypical family might be able to. But thanks to your reel, I'm able to practice and practice and practice, because that's all families and parents want, is to know, like, my child isn't the only one wilding out right now. And I think that's the cool part, because if a family sees another family or kiddo tantruming on the plane, there's probably two or three other families dealing with the same exact
Oh,
thing,
same
and
thing.
it's okay, right? It's We have that community, and that's what we're here today for, is to figure out, okay, how do we make this boarding process or the flight process more seamless and easy for the families that just want a sense of normalcy, is usually what we
Right.
call it. So yeah, that's dope, man. I love it. I love the awareness. I love the always, straight shooter, straightforward. Um, you doing your research obviously is something that I commend as well too, because there's so much just misinformation,
Hmm.
especially with this government, that can be harmful to
Right.
families who don't do the additional research. And so I'll do it for you. I'll read a little bit extra. I'll dive into the books a little bit more and share my insight or my perspective or my knowledge, how it'll affect my child. And then you can, take from that what you want, or reach out to me and we can dive into it together, which also, when I'm thinking about it right now, you also had was it a parents night out twice a month?
Yeah, we try to do a parent support group every second and fourth Friday. It's kind
Yeah,
of tapered off at the end of the year.
yeah,
I understand people in
vacation.
school, so we're gonna it's gonna be done differently next year. We're gonna try to do it on Saturdays, like once a month.
Okay.
So I think you get weekends a little bit more better. But yeah, we did a parent support group at a wine bar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So have some bottles of wine, and then in the beginning, what I noticed, it we had families that they was ready to talk. You know,
Yeah.
'Cause it wasn't clinical. It
Yeah.
was kind of like there's a topic, and you just start to talking. But you had some families that came in very quiet, and you can tell. I could tell by the look in their face, and the eyes were getting watery, that they felt like, okay, I don't feel alone.
Yeah.
They're saying stuff that I'm going through, and then when they started opening up, I seen all type of emotions come out, and
Yeah.
I think that was good because I feel like you have all this stuff bottled up, and you're like, who do I talk to?
Yeah. 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 Yeah, and like I said, you created a space for that, and so I think I'm even looking forward to the next one. And I was kind of bugging you, when at first that I wanted to attend, and it just didn't line up for me. But I think next year, once you kind of do revamp it and get it going, it's something that I definitely want to at least attend and just to hear because I'm a lifelong learner, and so I don't know
Yeah,
everything. I don't know every family. I don't know every situation or dynamic, but every insight that I get from a family is something that I can put in my toolbox to help and assist the next family. So, man, I think it's dope what you do. We're going to wrap up here in a second, but I appreciate you. I appreciate the information, the knowledge, the resources, and everything that you've done for yourself and for your family. And so, last thing I usually ask all the parents, if there's one piece of advice that you can give a family, maybe just starting the journey, in the middle of the journey, or maybe towards their perceivable tail end of the journey, what's that piece of advice that you would give them?
enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And I just say that enjoy the process
Yeah.
and celebrate those small wins.
Yeah.
Um, 'Cause trust me, them small wins add up, and sometimes take a step back, look yourself in the mirror, and be like, "Hey, everything's gonna be okay."
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, that's I think that's my advice
Okay.
for them. And before I go, I definitely want to give you your flowers. Um, for sure, like definitely, like I said, being a part of Chase's life, helping out. Um, like you helped out a lot, as well as being in the field that you're in, being a male. VCBA is not too many of you,
Yeah.
and being an African American. So as a African American man, it's you can it's a I don't want to say it's different, but it's a sense of understanding when you
Of
come
course.
to a family where understand.
Yeah.
But like I said, you've done good work, and I'm glad that I came across your page because like you said, you share some good information and drop gems
Yeah.
that I think a lot of families need to hear.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, man. I appreciate that. I think cultural sensitivity goes a long way, and for Black men in behavior analysis, whether you're an RBT or a BCBA, there's only about less numbers are increasing, but it's about 1%. And so
yes,
we want that exposure, we want that visibility, and we want that number to keep on rising because once again, when we're working with the minorities and marginalized populations, we want to have some sense of representation. And so I think, us two talking right now is something that people can see with like for visibility and exposure. And like you said, just keep the conversation going.
yeah, definitely.
Sweet. Well, I appreciate you, Stacy. Let the people know about these resources or where they can get the information and where they can find you on socials.
Yeah, if you wanna 511 hoops, all social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. It's the numeric 511 spelled out ELEVEN hoops HOOPS. If you want to find us online, it's 511hoops.org. And if you want to hear some information about what I talk about, all social media platforms as well said Stacy, and that's Stacy Stacy.
Sweet. Appreciate you, Stacy. Thank you for this informative podcast and information and just conversation, right? I feel
Yeah, for sure.
like I said, it's been a minute. Last time I saw you, we were hiking in Corona, so
Right.
it's been time, and I'm sure I know we'll reconnect here in the future and network and tap in together, man. So I appreciate you, and,
Mhm.
and I'll catch up with you soon.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate having me.
If you listened and this episode resonated with you, whether it made you laugh, cry, think a little bit harder, or just inhale a little bit deeper, know that this space is for you. So make sure to like, follow, subscribe to The Parent Trap LLC on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube just to keep the conversation going. If interested in being a part of this podcast, hit me up on Instagram or send me an email at theparenttrap3@gmail.com. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep showing up and being you.